Get ready for the first of many big energy shifts in 2025. Unlike 2024, which was a year of closure and letting go, 2025 is brimming with opportunities for fresh starts and powerful new beginnings. And it all starts with the lunar nodes changing signs. On January 11th, the lunar nodes will move into Pisces and Virgo, marking the beginning of a profound new karmic cycle that will reshape both our individual and collective focus for a full 18 months until July 26th of 2026. This isn't just a shift in energy, it's a call to action. This pivotal transit invites us to realign our priorities, shedding materialistic tendencies in favor of a more spiritual, intuitive, and harmonious approach to life. In this video, I'll cover everything you need to know to navigate the karmic influences of the lunar nodes in Pisces and Virgo for the next 18 months, including, of course, a forecast for all 12 signs. But before we dive in, make sure you like this video and hit that subscribe button so you never miss an important astrology update. And if you want to get even more out of today's video, head on over to the link in the description to download my free Astrology 101 quick reference guide to more deeply understand your birth chart and how this big shift in the lunar nodes will impact you in a more detailed and nuanced way. But before we get into the transit of the lunar nodes and how they're going to impact us as they move through the signs of Pisces with the North Node and Virgo with the South Node, we need to first understand what the heck the lunar nodes even are. So we're going to do a quick and dirty crash course in the lunar nodes before we dive into the forecast. And so the lunar nodes, unlike the planets, are astronomical calculations. They are not actual bodies that are physical, floating around in the sky, floating around in our solar system. They are calculations that are essentially created to determine the eclipse points. So when the sun and the moon both align with the lunar nodes, that is when we have an eclipse. And so these calculations were created essentially to predict when the eclipses would be coming up. But these eclipse points, these lunar nodes, pack their own punch. Just like eclipses, which bring turbulence and ups and downs and fated occurrences and synchronicities, just like eclipses, which were originally described as celestial omens that would predict the rise and fall of kingdoms, empires, rulerships, and royalty. The eclipse points, these calculations of the lunar nodes, have a huge weight and significance. They represent massive turning points in our collective experience and in our individual trajectory as it relates to our soul's evolution through past, present, and future lifetimes. It's what connects all of these energies, all of these experiences into one focal point that we move through, that we act upon, and that we experience in this incarnation, in this lifetime. The eclipses are known for bringing turbulence. They're known for throwing things completely upside down and completely into a brand new direction that we never could have expected. They're also catalysts for major endings, major moving on points. They are representative of cycles that are connected to our past that no longer serve us, as well as what we need to move into and experience that feels scary in the future that we have never experienced, that we have never done before. And so the North and South Node are hugely significant in our personal birth charts, but also in the collective astrology by transit. And the North and South Node both have completely different energies. The North Node is also known as Rahu, or the dragon's head in Vedic astrology. The North Node represents the path that we are moving into that is uncertain, that is very different, outside of the box, and unique to our own experience. Often the North Node compels us to do things that nobody else has actually even done before. So it causes us to chart new territory, not just on a personal level, but sometimes on a more collective level. It could be that we're moving into something in the North Node area of our life as it transits through that part of our chart that our ancestors, our lineage has never experienced, has never done before. It's going to be very different from our family of origin and what they have done. It could also be very different from what you've done and experienced in any of your past incarnations, in any of your past lifetimes, if that's something that you subscribe to. You don't have to use that framework. You can look at it as being through like your lineage, your ancestry, and also through your early life experience. But typically we look at it as being connected to those past, present, and future life experiences as well. And so the North Node is this energy that is really exciting, that compels us to leap forward into uncharted, unknown territory. There is a lot of room for mistakes with the North Node, which can cause a little bit of destruction in its wake. The North Node is also an energy that's very insatiable. It represents an area where we become obsessed with growth, with new beginnings, with charging forward. It can be an energy where we feel not just insatiable, but once we actually achieve these goals, once we actually do the thing that we want to experience and break through those fears and anxieties around the unknown, we feel unsatisfied and we just want more. It's kind of like getting to the peak of Mount Everest and saying, okay, well, this isn't that exciting. I want more. What's the next thing? I'm going to go find a mountain on Mars to climb or something like that. It's this energy of like constantly wanting growth, constantly wanting manifestation, constantly wanting more. And the North Node, unlike the South Node, is a lot more physical. So it's an energy that feels like we have control over it, but we're not necessarily being led by our own volition. There's something outside of us that's even bigger that compels us to move into this direction in a way that feels like we can't ignore it, like we have no choice, even though there is this illusion of choice. There are always different actions and choices and pivotal moments that get us to this new direction, that lead us into this journey. And on the outside looking in, it's like we've chosen to do this ourselves and it's through our own willpower. But deep down inside, you know that you have no choice. You are so compelled to do it that you just absolutely have to make that move. Even if you know that it's going to lead to a lot of destruction, a lot of chaos, a lot of uncertainty as a result of what we've done. The North Node is this energy of growth, this energy of something that we need to experience in order for our soul to evolve. And it can be a little bit messy. And often this experience with the dragon's head is very intellectual. It's very much us calculating and rationalizing what we're doing, but we don't have any instincts around this new trajectory. It's the dragon's head without the body, without the tail, without anything but the brain, right? In terms of our thoughts, in terms of our intelligence, in terms of our logic, we think we know what we're doing. We think we know how this is going to turn out, but we don't, because we lack that innate instinctual, intuitive capacity when it comes to the North Node in our charts by transit or in the natal chart. And like I said before, it's often very physical in its manifestation, this North Node energy. It's this desire to do something, to make something, to create something, to achieve something in the physical realm. Very different from the South Node energy, which is more spiritual, non-physical, and intuitive. And so the South Node, speaking of which, is also known as K2, or the dragon's tail. So it is the body of the dragon. It is headless. There is no rationalization. There's no logic. It's pure instinct. It's pure intuition. And that can be good and bad. Part of the reason that the South Node is connected to this like spiritual, intuitive, non-rational, non-linear energy is because the South Node is connected to our past life experiences and the karma that we carry with us into this present lifetime, both good and bad. It represents the things, the cycles that are dragging us down, that are no longer serving us, that we are here to learn to move on from and let go of. And so the South Node is often connected to very physical manifestations of loss, endings, and letting go. It is an energy that can cause a lot of sorrow, a lot of grief. But it's also an energy that is connected to our past talents and gifts that are either given to us through these past life experiences that maybe we didn't earn in this lifetime, but we just know. We have an innate understanding of how to do something and how to move about this reality that defies logic. There's no reasoning behind it. It's just a knowing. And that can get us quite far as long as we're not using it for our own gain or for materialistic purposes. The South Node doesn't like that. And so the South Node allows us to use our gifts from these previous experiences to manifest a new reality, so long as this reality is not self-serving, so long as our talents are used for a more altruistic, compassionate, bigger purpose. And so that's one of the beautiful things about the South Node. The South Node, though, does not have that logic, and so sometimes it can feel like things are just happening to you and you don't know why. Unlike the North Node, which often feels, especially in transit, like we are directing this at least somewhat, the South Node doesn't feel like that. It feels like things are just happening and you're just like confused and disoriented and you're not really sure why, but you can tell that there's a reason behind this. You can't really predict what's going on. You can't really direct it. It's not of your own volition. It's not of your own choice. But there is an inner knowing that this is something that is supposed to be. We're either supposed to be moving on from something or we're supposed to be doing something, even if it doesn't connect to what we logically know in this reality, what we've logically done and understood in this current incarnation. And so this is all about moving on from things that are just not good for us anymore, and taking with us the gifts from the past and moving that into our future. And again, you can look at this in terms of past, present, and future lives, but you can also look at this in terms of your ancestral lineage, your family of origin. You can also look at this in terms of early life versus late in life, because the South Node often does manifest more like early on in life as something that feels comfortable and familiar to us, which also reminds me of the fact that the South Node is kind of our comfort zone because it's something that we've already done before. It's something we've already mastered. So it feels good to sit in that South Node energy to a certain extent, because if you sit in there too long and you don't expand into this North Node area, which is exciting and new but also very scary, you become very stagnant and things start to unravel and get really dark and they just don't work right. Things get very muddled when you dwell in the South Node and you refuse to move on, let go, or use those talents for something new, right? And so essentially, the ultimate goal with the North and South Node and the transits of the North and South Node is to integrate the two opposing energies. So that way you're getting two opposite sides of the spectrum, because that's what you're getting. They're going to be in opposite sides of the chart. They're going to be in the opposing sign of one another. And so you're trying to balance and integrate these two opposing forces in order to create something in the present moment that is aligned with your past talents and gifts, that is no longer carrying all that baggage that is not working for you and that is causing destruction, but is also helping you embrace the new phase of your soul's evolution. And that's going to also involve integrating the two opposing forces of the two signs that this axis of the South Node and the North Node will be transiting through. And in this particular case, the North and South Nodes are transiting through Pisces and Virgo. And so you can think about it as this energy of moving forward into a more mystical, more spiritual, more creative, more compassionate, more altruistic way of navigating our reality that's never been done before. That's that North Node in Pisces. We're going to be feeling insatiable on this quest for creativity, for integration, for inspiration, for imagination, for moving more into the unknown. Think about it as the collective moving more toward focusing on the metaphysical as opposed to the physical. Whereas the South Node is transiting the sign of Virgo. Virgo is also very helpful. It's a sign of service. It's also a sign that's very practical, logical, rational, detail-oriented, and organized. It's very much about the physical, the here and now, and all the little details about what's happening and why. And so this is an energy where we're going to be called to embrace the unknown. We're not going to see the direction that we're heading into in this clear, logical, linear way, except through the talents of our past, except through our instincts, which is kind of contradictory if you think about it, right? With that South Node energy being instinctual and intuitive, and in the sign of Virgo, which is very rational and logical, it's kind of like we're trying to rationalize our intuition and our instincts in order to make sense of what's going on around us, but it's going to be very hard to actually do that. And the other thing about Virgo, you guys, is that the Virgo sign is very controlling. Virgo is known on its kind of more negative side for being a micromanager. You want to fix everything. You want everything to be absolutely perfect. And that perfectionistic quality of Virgo, that micromanaging, that wanting to control every little piece of what's going on around you, that's not going to work in the Virgo area of your life for the next 18 months. And we'll talk about what that looks like for all of the signs. But in general, this is something that we're going to have to learn to leave behind. We're going to be leaving behind the more negative traits of the Virgo energy and moving into some of the both positive and negative traits of the Pisces energy. There's going to be a lot of delusion, a lot of illusion, a lot of confusion, a lot of deception out in the ethers and out in the world at large. And in our personal lives, we're going to have to be aware that that area where the North Node is transiting through Pisces is going to be subject to a lot of deception, a lot of disillusionment, and a lot of delusion. So it's not just that people on the outside are misguiding us. Because this energy is very self-directed, we might be delusional in what we think that we're doing and what we think the outcomes might be. It's going to be very hard to pinpoint exactly what's going on and how it's going to work. And that's the case with any North and South Node transit, but with the North Node in Pisces, it's very much about embracing the unknown and being okay with that, because that's that Virgo energy of wanting to know all of it in every little detail, versus Pisces, which is just kind of like floating in the ethers, and it's like everything is connected and everything's all right and it's all going to work out in the end, and it's all very idealistic. But again, we can go too far into the deep end of that Pisces energy, of those Pisces waters, which is the danger of that North Node being very insatiable, very off kilter, very much like, this is not enough, I need more. And so one of the things we might see collectively with the North Node transiting through the sign of Pisces is more detachment, more escapism. Pisces is very much associated with alcoholism. It's very much associated with escaping through drugs and alcohol, especially things that detach you from the current reality. I think we'll see an upsurge in things like the use of psychedelics, things like the use of opiates and heroin and things like that. These are all things that are very Piscean in nature. And so that is one thing that I think collectively we'll see. Hopefully on a personal level, you won't be seeing that, but you could, by proxy and through the people that you're connected with or that you encounter in your life. And the other thing that we're going to see, I think, is a lack of groundedness. And there's going to be a lot of big ideas that are not rooted in realistic, practical energies. And so again, the trick here is to marry the practical with the impractical, to marry the logical and the rational with our biggest, boldest dreams, and to merge those two energies to create something that's realistic, but also expands us beyond our current reality and our current framework of what's possible. And so I love that with the Pisces Virgo. The Pisces Virgo axis is also very tied to health care, and our overall health and well-being. And so Virgo is the sign of health, nutrition. We know everyone who's a Virgo, or most people who have strong Virgo energy, are more health conscious and very aware of these types of things. But also Pisces rules hospitals. It's connected to hospitals, doctors. It's also connected in modern astrology to the planet Neptune. Neptune rules poisons and pharmaceutical medications. And so we might be seeing some big grandiose claims around those types of entities, those types of, remedies and medicines and things like that that really don't live up to the expectations, or they're too new for us to really understand what they're going to do to us long term. I mean, that's always the case if we're being completely honest here. But I think we're going to see a little bit more of that. I think we're going to see some major changes and shifts in the healthcare system and in the realm of both allopathic, modern Western healthcare, and also traditional alternative forms of medicine. And so I think health and well-being and healthcare will be really big themes in the next 18 months. And it's going to be hard to comprehend where things are headed because it's going to be very different from where we are right now. That's always the energy of the eclipses. It's kind of like big shifts that turn our lives and our experiences upside down. And I think collectively we'll see some of that too when it comes to that industry or those industries, because they're kind of like competing industries nowadays. And so that's one manifestation I could say I could see happening like collectively. Another thing too is going to be, Virgo's an earth sign and it's very health conscious, but it's also tends to be very earth conscious and very aware of like waste. It's a very frugal sign, whereas Pisces is very compassionate and very connected. And Pisces is a sign that understands that we're all connected. So we're connected to the earth beneath our feet. We're connected to the trees, to the plants, to the animals, to the ecosystem. We're also connected to what's going on out in the cosmos, the planets, the solar system, and beyond. We're connected to one another. And so Pisces recognizes that there is this interconnectedness, and what hurts me hurts you. What hurts the planet hurts me too. And so I do think that there's going to be a greater awareness around things like animal welfare. There's going to be a greater awareness around, things like the health of our environment and the ecosystems. I think there's just going to be an elevation in consciousness around these types of things. And that's going to cause some major developments, and it's going to cause us to move into some new directions, just surrounding those topics. And finally, the big thing we'll see probably is a greater pull towards spirituality, mysticism, paranormal, things like that. Except we're going to be kind of forced to look at it from a more grounded, rational, logical, Virgoan type of way. Otherwise, we'll get carried off into something that's just completely ridiculous. And so we're going to see a little bit of that going on as well. So in terms of dates, the true node is moving into the sign of Pisces on January 11th of 2025, and the mean node is moving into the sign of Pisces on January 28th of 2025. Both of these are big, important moments to focus on. I've noticed that the true node definitely holds weight, but the mean node seems to activate actual physical experiences, like manifesting and coming into reality. And so these are both dates to watch out for. And this will last, you guys, until July 26th of 2026. And so this is an 18-month transit that's going to be going on for a long time. And it's going to reflect themes that date back to June 23rd of 2026 through December 18th of 2027. That's when the true node was last in Pisces. So if you are old enough to have had, experiences that you can remember at that time, as I am, and as many of you are, thinking back on the big karmic changes, the big shifts in direction, the crazy overhauls of your entire life where things were one way and then all of a sudden they switched to a different direction, that's going to give you clues as to what's coming up this time around. The other time period to pay attention to is November 12th of 2015 through May 9th of 2017. This is when we had the reversal of what we're experiencing right now, where the north node was in Virgo and the south node was in Pisces. Each time the nodes move back and then flip, those are going to be points where similar themes are going to come up in new and sort of inverted ways. And so you'll shift from focusing on one area during that true node in Pisces period from 2006 to 2007. And then you'll shift to this kind of opposite direction of momentum during this period from 2015 to 2017. And then we're going to shift back to that original point of focus from when we were back in 2006 to 2007, now in 2025 and 2026. So hopefully that makes sense to you. And so we have a few main events that are going to be occurring while the north node is in Pisces and the south node is in Virgo. The first one is going to occur right after the nodes switch signs, with the north node in Pisces on February 6th of 2025, and with the mean node on February 22nd of 2025. There's going to be a conjunction between the north node and Neptune in the sign of Pisces. This is going to be a major period of confusion, disillusionment, and disorientation, but this is also going to bring us into a more collective experience of compassion, of spirituality, of altruism. It's going to be an interesting time. I mostly see this as being a lot of confusion and disillusionment. And so we'll talk about this more as we get into the forecast and as we get into the year, because I'll be doing videos on a lot of these things more individually. But just so you have a heads up, we're starting off with a lot of weirdness and a lot of disorientation. It's kind of like we think we're catapulting into this new direction, but Neptune is like, you're not going to understand what the heck is going on. Like, you think that it's this, but it's completely this. Or we're going to just completely shade your ability to see what's going on clearly. Shortly after that, we have the spring 2025 eclipse season, where we're going to have a total lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo on March 14th of 2025, and a partial solar eclipse in Aries on March 29th of 2025. And so that first total lunar eclipse in Virgo on March 14th is the first eclipse that we're going to have that's fully in the sign of Virgo that has happened in the last 18 years with the South Node in Virgo. And so this is also going to occur with the Sun very tightly conjunct Saturn and Neptune. And so the moon will be opposing the Sun, the North Node, Saturn, and Neptune. And this is going to create a very interesting energy where it's going to activate that Saturn-Neptune conjunction as it starts to come closer and closer to its actual point of exactness in 2026, except this is happening in Pisces. And so Saturn-Neptune in Pisces themes are going to be coming around. A lot of dissolving of old structures, a lot of letting go of things that are too rigid. It's going to be a lot of dissolving of boundaries, but also looking at where our boundaries have become too loose and we've become a little bit delusional with what we're doing and how we're doing it. That Virgo energy is going to allow us to take that practicality, our instincts around what's real, what's logical, what's actually possible, and kind of channel that into looking at what we've been doing in this other area of our life that's maybe not so realistic, so we can create new, better structures around it. So I like that energy for that. The partial solar eclipse in Aries is going to be on March 29th. This is basically the grand finale of the Aries Libra axis. The nodes are no longer in Aries and Libra. This is the final eclipse that's going to be happening in Aries. And so this is kind of this energy of just moving on. It's like a big conclusion, so we can focus on the change and the new direction that we're moving into ahead with these North and South Node energies. On April 2nd of 2025, we're going to have the North Node conjunct Saturn. This is another activation of the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, and this is especially important because Neptune will have just moved into the sign of Aries, and so this is going to give us another big hint as to what's going to be coming up with that Neptune conjunction to Saturn at 0 degrees in Aries in 2026, which is a huge, like, global impact. Like, this is going to be an energy that's going to change things in a way that's going to make it unrecognizable. Like, this is a big event for a lot of reasons that I'll talk about when we actually do a forecast for this. But this is going to kind of show us or hint to us the direction that we're moving into as a collective. And also, if you have very strong energy at 0 or the beginning few degrees of any of the cardinal signs, which are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, this is going to show you the big, massive reset and change that you're going to be going into with this conjunction in 2026. And then in the fall of 2025, we have another eclipse season. This is happening in September, and this is going to be a total lunar eclipse in Pisces on September 7th of 2025, along with a partial solar eclipse in Virgo on September 21st of 2025. And so this first total lunar eclipse in Pisces is making a harmonious trine with Jupiter in Cancer. And so this opens a gateway for profound signs, synchronicities, messages that lead us into karmic new opportunities that are connected with our destiny, that are given to us as gifts due to what we've accomplished in our past lives, and are also going to propel us forward into a new direction in our current reality. And so this is one of my favorite eclipses coming up. The partial solar eclipse in Virgo is going to be a little bit more challenging. So this is going to be the new moon opposing Saturn really tightly. And so this is going to be a little bit more about limitations and restrictions on our evolution based on what's real and what's practical, and also based on what we need to let go of and the structures and boundaries we need to dissolve and maybe not be so rigid around. This is also going to be a lot about our past karma, how our past mistakes and our past karma are preventing us from moving forward. That's going to be a big theme for that eclipse. And of course, we're going to have separate videos with forecasts for all of these as they come up over the next 18 months. And then finally, we have the spring 2026 eclipse season, which is happening in February and March of 2026. This is going to be a solar annular eclipse in Aquarius on February 17th of 2026. And this is going to be conjunct Mars. This is going to be a huge momentum. And this is also going to be the first eclipse in Aquarius. So most of this is going to give us a taste of what's coming up later in the year in 2026 after the nodes change signs in July. But it's also going to be a need to take action on something in order to prepare for that shift. And then finally, we have the total lunar eclipse in Virgo on March 3rd of 2026. That is going to include a stellium in Pisces on the opposition. And so we're going to have Mars, the North Node, the Sun, Mercury, and Venus all in a stellium trining Jupiter in Cancer on the opposite end of this Virgo energy. And so the Jupiter is actually going to be sextiling the moon. What the heck does that all mean? It means that there's actually a lot of positivity around this. I mean, Venus will be exalted in Pisces as part of this eclipse energy. Yeah, Mars is there, but it's kind of the farthest from that stellium. It's not a super close conjunction. It's kind of like where something is being illuminated, like an opportunity that we really need to take action on. A message is coming through, and it's going to reflect what happened during that eclipse season of September, on September 7th of 2025. It's kind of like there's something that started there that we need to take hold of and like take to the next level or take to the next phase during this period in March of 2026. And so that's kind of my overview of everything that's going to be happening over the next 18 months. Again, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss an important astrology update, because I'm going to be going through these all individually as they come up throughout this entire time period with the North and South Node in Pisces and Virgo. Now let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs, but before we do, I have something really exciting to share. If you've ever dreamed of giving astrology readings that are so attuned and insightful, they leave people saying things like, wow, I've been struggling with this for years, and in one session you've made it all make sense. Or you didn't just tell me about my birth chart, you gave me clarity and direction that I didn't even know I needed. Well, then my upcoming workshop on January 23rd, the Attuned Astrologer, is for you. The truth is, astrology isn't about memorizing random facts or cobbling together disconnected definitions from the internet. It's about mastering the art of synthesis. That means connecting the dots between planets, signs, houses, and aspects to tell a cohesive, soul-stirring story. But let's be realistic. I know from experience that learning how to do that on your own can feel overwhelming, intimidating, and very frustrating. That's why I created the Attuned Astrologer workshop, to help you move beyond surface level astrology and step into the role of a confident, skilled astrologer who delivers truly transformative readings. The workshop gives you the tools, techniques, and real-time support you need to build a strong foundation, practice chart synthesis, and deliver interpretations that leave your loved ones or even your clients feeling seen, empowered, and understood. And the best part, you can join now for just $29. That's 50% off our regular price, but only if you join us before the live workshop on January 23rd. So if you're an astrology student who already understands the signs, planets, and houses, and you're struggling to put it all together, and you're ready to take your knowledge even deeper to become an attuned astrologer, click the link in the description below. I hope to see you in class. So for Aries and for Aries rising, you've just come out of a whirlwind of astrological chaos with the North and South nodes transiting your sign. The North node is finally moving on from the sign of Aries. You've probably been through the ringer. You've had a lot of change, a lot of transformation, and your entire life may have turned upside down sometime over the course of the last 18 months due to the new developments that have come through in your life that have served to align you with your path, your purpose, and your own self-image. interest. Now is a time where you're going to be taking a little bit of a breather. The North Node in the sign of Pisces in the 12th house is a time for you to focus on your spirituality, on your inner world, on rest and reprieve. This is a very important time for you to go deep into the unconscious and subconscious realms. This is a very important time for you to focus on not just your spirituality, but your creativity, your imagination. This is a really beautiful time for you to focus on visualizing what you want for your best, most idealistic future reality. This is a time where, you've gone through so many changes, and now you need to turn inward and learn how to integrate those changes into what you actually want to accomplish moving forward. This is also a time where massive changes can come about in the areas of not just rest and reprieve and spirituality and spiritual practices and the unconscious, the paranormal even, because I've seen with a lot of people who have the North Node transiting the 12th house that they might be more subject to things like paranormal experiences. But this is also about the practical, the physical, and the real. The South Node is transiting your 6th house, which is the house of health, work, and daily routines. Now is a time for you to focus on letting go of anything in your day-to-day reality that is not serving you and your health, and not just your physical well-being, but your emotional, your psychological, and also your spiritual well-being. If it's bad for your body, it's bad for your spirit. But also there could be practices, there could be routines, there could be habits that you've been doing on a day-to-day basis, either for your work or just to sustain your day-to-day reality, that are not serving you on a soul level. These mundane things that bit by bit chip away at your soul, that make you feel bored and burnt out, that make you feel like you're struggling on a day-to-day basis just to get by. This is a time to let go of anything you're doing in your day-to-day reality, any of your habits and routines that are not serving you on a deeper level. They might be serving you on a practical, physical level, and rationally and logically you feel like you need to continue forward. But when it comes to their deeper meaning and whether or not this has value for you on a soul level, on an evolutionary level, chances are it doesn't. If it's dragging you down, it has to go. This is also a time for you to let go of habits and routines that are not good for you physically. Anything that you're doing for your health, if you're over focusing on your health, if you're being too nitpicky about your diet, if you're, taking too much on in that area, now's a time to relax a little bit, to let go of the things that are actually causing you more stress and potentially harming you, even if logically they seem good for you. For example, it could be great for you to take all sorts of supplements that your body needs for nutrients that you're deficient in. However, if it becomes overkill and you're taking like handfuls of supplements all day and you're stressing out about your routine, and if you miss one or this or that, that could be detrimental to your health because stress is not good for you, right? And so looking at the balance here between doing what's right for your body and what's overkill and is killing your soul really and killing your creativity. The other thing too that people might be making changes in is not just their health, but you might be making changes when it comes to your work. There could be day-to-day work habits and work situations that are dragging you down and keeping you from really exploring on a deeper level, exploring on a more subconscious and unconscious level, connecting with your spirituality, connecting with your creativity, or it could just be preventing you from taking downtime and resting. What you need right now is to embrace the energy of rest and reprieve, not the energy of going, doing. And so now's the time to be doing less and contemplating more. And so this is a really important time to find that balance. If you've gone too much in the direction of being busy day in and day out, now's the time to look at where you can let things go. And that might mean letting go of a job or a career path. And in this particular circumstance, with this axis in the 6th and the 12th house, this could have health repercussions. If you have been working yourself to the bone, if you are just so tired and so burnt out, if you've been doing work on a day-to-day level that is not nurturing and nourishing to your soul, your body's gonna feel it. And that might be the breaking point that causes you to take some time out to reflect on what's really best for you. You might also have really wild and unexpected experiences in situations that come up around not just your health, but other people's health. And so just expect the unexpected and expect that there could be some potential, I don't want to call it turbulence, but there could be some fated circumstances around not just your health, but other people's health that cause you to change course or change direction, or maybe even cause you, by just watching that unfold, decide that you need to make some changes to your own life and your own routine. There could also be unexpected situations and circumstances that come up during this time around animals, around pets. And so make sure that you're taking extra good care of the health of your pets, get them all their checkups, make sure their tags are up to date, their microchips, whatever, because this is one of those times where things can come up that could be disruptive in that area. However, it could also be, you find a pet and you maybe come across it from happenstance. There's a stray dog and you can't find its owner and it becomes yours and it feels like it's meant to be. It feels like it's fated. And so both ends of the spectrum can be the case when the North and South nodes are transiting your 6th and your 12th house. And so this is a time to look into, is your work aligned with a deeper meaning and purpose? Is your spirituality taking a backseat to the practical, logical, and linear? What does your health look like? What does your animal's health look like? What does your overall day-to-day routine look like? And how can you create more space for rest? And for Taurus rising, this North Node transit through Pisces is happening in your 11th house, which is the house of friends, group associations, networks, and people that you surround yourself with by choice. This is your tribe. This is your group. This is your social circle. And this is a time where fated new connections are going to come in for you over the next 18 months. And fated situations that align you more clearly with your destiny when it comes to your connections and social circle can come in as well. This could mean major upheavals when it comes to your friendships or situations involving your friends. Or literally it could just be that there are major pivotal moments and turning points in the lives of your friends that are close to you. And you're watching this unfold and you're having to be a support system. You're along for the ride with them. All of these things might be the case, but any new friendships, any new group connections especially that come in during this time are meant to be. You are looking for deep spiritual connection with a group of like-minded, compassionate people that you can connect with on that soul level. And this is a really great time to connect with spiritual groups, with creative types of group projects. This is a really great time to connect with networks of people who share similar values when it comes to giving back and doing altruistic or charitable types of work. This could be a great time for you to start an organization that is built of compassion and connection, and to put that out there, and it will really take off over the course of these next 18 months. But it's also a really important time to look at your boundaries when it comes to your friendships. There could be fated karmic situations that come up that test your boundaries when it comes to all of your social connections, but especially your closest friendships, because there's Saturn and Neptune in the mix with this North Node in the very interconnected and boundaryless sign of Pisces. And so this is going to show you very clearly where your boundaries have become too loose and you need to tighten them up a little bit. You need to have that hard line in the sand saying, no, I'm not going to do this for you. No, I'm not that person. Or no, this relationship isn't good for me. Or yes, I'm going to open myself up maybe a little bit more if your boundaries have been too tight. On the opposite end of the spectrum, the South Node is transiting through your 5th house, which is the house of children. With the North and South Node on that 11th, 5th house axis, I will mention that if you are in your reproductive years and you're sexually active, this is a time where reproduction could come up in a way that's very fated, karmic, but not necessarily planned or expected. This could also indicate having to let go of certain ideas or ideals around children. I've seen with the North and South nodes transiting the 5th like this, people changing their mind about whether or not they want to have children as a result of certain events that transpire. Especially with the South Node, it would be external events that you have no control over that are happening around you and that cause you to change direction and cause you to change your mind about something. This is also a really important time for taking your talents and gifts on a creative level from the past and from your past life experiences and using them to build something with a group of like-minded, compassionate people. And so this is about reconnecting with your passions that are very practical, that have some sort of purpose or use that you have let go of or haven't really brought into your experience in this lifetime yet. Now is the time. Now is the time to bring that back into the mix. This could also be the time to move on from or let go of old romantic connections, especially when it comes to flings, love affairs, short-lived romances, things like that. If you're stuck in the past when it comes to thinking about that person, that is going to prevent you from making the right connections moving forward. And now is the time where you need to open up that space. You need to be able to make those right connections. And so that's what's going on for Taurus. For Gemini and for Gemini rising, the North Node is transiting Pisces in your 10th house, which is the house of career and public standing. This is not just your work and your career. So if you are retired or not working or never planning to work, this is also the legacy that you leave behind after your working years. This is how people remember you. This is how people know you on a bigger scale, even if it's just in your community and your immediate environment. It is how people know you, and it's your reputation, and that could be true or false, but it's still your reputation. And so I say that this might be true or false because Pisces is in the mix, right? And so there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of momentum when it comes to new beginnings in the area of career. There is a brand new path, a brand new destination that you are meant to move into. There are new opportunities coming up for you. But if you don't have the right structures and boundaries in place, you are going to be blocked from obtaining that momentum, from connecting with those synchronistic experiences that are going to pull you forward in the right direction. And some of those blockages might come literally from your reputation or from a misunderstanding of who you are and what you're putting out into the world, because maybe you haven't been clear about that. Or maybe the way that you put it out into the world has caused confusion or misdirection. Or maybe you haven't had good enough boundaries on a personal level with what you share with the public, and that's coming back to bite you. There's something karmic in the implications of this North Node Saturn conjunction, where either the public at large or an important figure of authority in your life is potentially going to provide this blockage, this hurdle, this challenge that you have to overcome by becoming very clear on who you are, what you want, and what your boundaries are, while also remaining open to limitless possibilities, because that energy of Pisces is like, wow, I'm imagining and envisioning this really powerful, beautiful experience that I want when it comes to the mark that I'm making on the world. And, you know, I feel like I have to do this, that, or the other thing. I have to. Like, you're going to be feeling so pulled toward moving in this direction that you're going to be unstoppable. It's like you don't have a choice, because really you don't. I mean, fate is taking the reins here, but you are the conduit. And so that's a big part of what's going on. Part of what you might need to reconcile or let go of is issues pertaining to family, especially your parents or your family of origin, where maybe there was a lot of perfectionism, there was a lot of demand that was placed on you, there was a lot of criticism in your early environment, and you have to let go of those patterns of not just, you know, those family connections or those family patterns or those energies or caring about it, but also internalizing it and becoming your own worst critic. This is also a time where you might have to let go of some sort of very specific vision about how your home life is going to look or your family life is going to look, where you want to have a lot of control and kind of micromanage the environment and the situation. You're not going to be able to do that and also live your dreams. And so you're going to be looking on creating like a really solid work-life balance. And your home life is going to provide the sort of roots or the seed for you to grow out of, and what you've already accomplished in the past when it comes to your family and your karma and your, especially the positive energy from your past life experiences around your family, your roots, your home, all of those things are going to come up and they're going to help you to kind of grow from that space. But there's also a really big energy of moving on. A lot of people, when they have these transits of the North and South Node through the 4th and the 10th house like this, end up moving, and often the move is related to a career change, or you're having a career change and a move at the same time and they just happen to be unrelated. What I've seen this time and time again, more often there is this like catalyst of like needing to change your location as a result of something that needs to change for your career. Or on the flip side, it could be that you change your living situation because that's something that's been toxic or is holding you back. And then that opens up new career opportunities. And then for Cancer and for Cancer rising, this energy is happening with the North Node in your 9th house, which is the house of travel, adventure, but it's also your big ideologies. It's the framework for your reality based on your religious and philosophical belief systems. And so it's the belief systems that literally frame your reality and dictate the way that you view the world. And so a lot of that is going to be up for change over these next 18 months. Since Saturn has moved into Pisces, your worldview might have become a little bit more pessimistic and a little bit muddled and confused. It's kind of like you're normally more optimistic and idealistic, but now you're seeing this like cold, hard reality about how the world works, and your worldview is changing. Now's a time where you're going to be coming into like a new phase of this, where you've seen the dark side of things, but now you're seeing the potential that you can create out of that reality. It's kind of like, okay, now I know how things work. I know how the sausage is made, and I can take that information and I can run with it to create something bigger and better, because now I'm doing it from a place that's more grounded. This is also a really important time where any travel that comes up for you in the next 18 months is very much fated. It's part of your destiny. It's a part of your soul's growth and evolution. And so you'll often come to travel to places that feel really familiar, even though you've never been there, or the travel feels really important, or something about the experience is life-changing and perspective shifting, where you're never quite the same afterwards as a result of that experience. This is also a really important time for fated connections with people in foreign countries, or with teachers, people who have wisdom, especially spiritual and philosophical wisdom, but even just higher knowledge on a subject that you're deeply interested in, that you want to go deeper into. This is a beautiful time to dive into a educational pursuit that feels scary but exciting to you, where this is a risk in some way, but it's a risk that's rooted in a deep understanding of what's realistic, and it's a risk that has a high reward. And so going back to school can be a really great thing. Diving into learning things that are spiritual, metaphysical, things like astrology even. This could be a really great time to join us in the Attuned Astrologer or in the Cosmic Academy of Astrology while you're still getting the old last year's pricing. And this could also be a really great time for you to teach something or share something with the world that you've never shared before. So it could be like you going in a new direction with sharing information or teaching in some way. There's also like practical knowledge that you need to bring into the mix. So there's something that you want to share with the world that's very, maybe it's woo, maybe it's very like, ungrounded. Or maybe it's just very conceptual. It's very hard to explain in practical, realistic terms. You need to take what's real and ground your teachings in that in order to share it with the world, or else it's going to become misunderstood and that's going to backfire on you in some way. There could also be a need to let go of something when it comes to your community, your day-to-day connections, or some sort of like mindset. I feel like for Cancer, especially because this is a Virgo energy and this is in your 3rd house, there's going to be a lot of negative self-talk that's going to prevent you from seeing the bigger picture, and it's going to be very easy to get sucked into it and stuck in that. And you want to make sure that you're maybe like even just talking yourself out of it. Like you need to move past the self-criticism, that like tape that's playing on a loop that tells you that you're not good enough, or you can't do it, or you can't achieve it, or you can't go to that magical place that you want to go to. There could also be very karmic, very fated changes that come up involving not just big picture travel, but on a mundane level, like vehicles, like your car. You might need to let go of it, get rid of it, and find a new mode of transportation. There could also be issues pertaining to your siblings. If there's any old patterns, any old karma, anything that's stuck or stagnant that you've been dwelling on involving your siblings or your extended family, now is a time where you're going to be able to move on from that and let that go. And especially your new vantage point and viewpoint of reality is going to help you to do that. And it's going to help you to do that not with criticism, but with compassion. So you need to let go of criticizing and placing blame on your siblings, on your neighbors, on the people around you for the circumstances that have come up in your life or that you're in right now. And look at the bigger picture and look at your role in maybe not creating it, but enabling it. Like, what is your role in this situation? Once you see that and you're very clear on that, you're going to be able to move on very quickly. And so that's what's going on for Cancer. For Leo and for Leo rising, expect big changes over the next 18 months related to your finances. This is a time of potentially really great financial growth for you, especially in September of 2025 and in March of 2026 when we have the eclipses aligning with Jupiter in the sign of Cancer. Because you have the North Node in your 8th house, which is the house of joint finances, other people's money, investments can lie here. This is also a place where loans can be given out much more easily. You can seek financing through outside sources and become insatiable in your quest for actually obtaining them. This is also fated karmic changes to your partner's resources if you are somebody who's in partnership. So if you're married or even if you're in some sort of business partnership, this can benefit you through your connection with other people. This is also potentially a time where you could come into some sort of inheritance. I remember when I had this transit, we had a big insurance payout for our homeowners insurance that allowed us to completely redo our entire kitchen, mostly because it had to happen, which is why there was an insurance claim. But you can kind of see how that might play out in your own life. Like there could be some sort of insurance payout or insurance claim that is more than what you expected, and it ends up being beneficial to you in some way or life-changing to you in some way. This is also a really important time where big shifts and changes can come through death and experiences with death. It doesn't necessarily mean that someone around you is going to die, but this could be a change in perspective due to an increased awareness around death, or it could be that there's somebody in your immediate environment who does pass away and that changes something for you in some way. Oftentimes when you have this transit and death is a part of it, there's an inheritance involved, and so there's money coming in through this outside source through death benefits or life insurance or something along those lines. This is also a time where it's very important to look at your fears and anxieties, not just around money, but in general. The 8th house is the house of anxiety. It's the house of psychological issues that are deep-seated, that are stemming from past experiences that are still holding power and control over us as a result of fear. And so this is a time where we can move on, we can challenge those old fears, those old ideas, those old anxieties by looking to the future and looking at the fact that this is not necessarily relevant anymore in the present moment. This is also a time where there could be changes to your financial situation that are really big, where things are fluctuating really heavily. I've seen it go both ways. So the North Node is going to be in a conjunction with Saturn and Neptune in your 8th house, and so you don't want to end up delusional about your investments and where you're putting your money and your financial situation. That could definitely come back to bite you, and there could be some sort of past karma or past fear related to your financial situation that's restricting you from making the right moves in the present, and it's clouding your judgment. And so that's something that you will be looking at overcoming over the course of these next 18 months. This could also be looking at your financial situation from a more practical standpoint and balancing what's practical with your ideals and your vision for the future when it comes to your finances. This could also be letting go of an old financial plan. It's kind of like you had this idea of how things were going to go, and it was very precise and very detailed with Virgo in your 2nd house. And now's a time where you're letting go of that expectation or those ideas around money, or you're changing something involving your budget. Or it could be that there is like a loss or some money that goes out, and that causes you to have to shift the way that you're dealing with your resources. But outside help is definitely on its way in these circumstances, and you can get the financing and the funding that you want, maybe not through your own hard work or through your own savings account, but through outside investments or outside sources or loans or things of that nature. And this is also looking at changing the way that you spend your resources and utilize your resources. So maybe you've been focusing on savings for something really practical, but you decide to kind of blow your budget on something that's fun and more whimsical, or you decide to create a better balance between, focusing on keeping it very practical, very strict, very rigid, and, having a little fun with your resources. That could be a big part of this too. For Virgo and for Virgo rising, this 18-month period is going to change your life in more ways than one. This is where everything is turned upside down and you're catapulted in a brand new direction across many different areas of your life. Who you are and the way that you show up in the world, the way you view yourself and the way that others see you, that is up for change. You're going to be letting go of an old identity in favor of a new one. And this new identity is going to be very tied into your connections with other people. This is not a time to be selfish, it's a time to be selfless. Now is a time where you're going to be doubling down on focusing on the needs and desires of other people, and big dramatic changes in your life can come through your connections with others, especially close one-on-one connections, and especially changes that stem through your spouse or significant other if you are partnered. If you're not in partnership, this could be a time where a faded new romantic connection can come, and it's going to feel so compelling. It's going to feel so intense. You're going to feel like you are meant to connect with this person, and you are. And it might be for a lifetime, or it might be just for a season, but this is very important, these connections that you're making at this time, because they are connected to your fate. They are connected to your soul's next phase of evolution. They are leading you somewhere, and they are going to cause you to make very dramatic changes to who you are, just like I said, in the way that you show up in the world, but to other areas of your life too. You could find yourself moving as a result of a new connection, a new friendship, a new partnership, it doesn't have to be like a romantic connection or a romantic partnership. You could meet someone new, and it stimulates this like catalyst for changing a lot of different things in your life through that new connection. And it could cause you to move. It could cause you to change your career path. It could cause you to reevaluate who you are and the way that you're showing up. The main thing is to not be so hard on yourself. Like, this is not a time to succumb to self-criticism, which is what Virgo risings are really prone to doing. It's about letting go of all of that negative self-talk. It's about letting go of wanting to control and micromanage the situation and letting someone else take the reins. Because right now, it's very important that you do so. If you don't, you're going to suffer through this transit because you're not going to feel good about what's happening, because it's not self-led, and it's not going to be self-led. And that doesn't mean that because it's not self-led, it's not good. Powerful, really positive things can happen. You can form lifelong connections that'll stand the test of time and be with you for forever. But you have to let fate take the reins, and you have to let somebody else in the driver's seat for at least part of this 18-month transit, and that can be hard for a Virgo rising. And so that's what I see for you. And then for Libra and for Libra rising, this North and South Node transit is happening in your 6th and 12th house. There are some really big new developments coming up in your health, your work, and your daily routines. You might be taking your work life to a completely different place than you've ever taken it before. It's kind of like there's a brand new project with your work that you become obsessive over, and day in and day out, you are focused on this. This feels like your destiny. You feel so compelled to do this thing, to do this work, that there's nothing's going to stop you. And it feels fated. It feels like it's part of your destiny. It's kind of like, yeah, you're choosing to do this, but you don't really have a choice. You're being so driven. You can become a workaholic during this time, so you do want to be careful that you don't burn yourself out and you don't take things too far, because that can be the case. This could also be you obsessing over very strict and very stringent health routines. You might need to double down on being more strict and being more regimented with your health, and your health situation could show you that. Or it could be that you're being way too rigid and you need to loosen up and loosen your boundaries a little bit when it comes to your health, and especially the things that you do on a day-to-day basis to maintain your body. There could also be very dramatic, very unexpected circumstances that come up around health, healing, sickness, hospitals that are maybe not pertaining to you, but they involve you. So someone in your life could become sick and you could be spending time at a hospital. There could be illness in the family. There could be illness around you, or you could take on a caregiver role as a result of something like that. And that will change your trajectory. This is something that you will accept, a responsibility that you will accept very compassionately, if that is the case, but it won't be the case for everyone or for most people. This is going to be a specific subset of our Libra risings. And this could also be fated karmic new circumstances that come up around animals and pets. Just like I said for the flip side with Aries rising, you need to make sure that your pets' tags are up to date, their collars are secure, they get their checkups and all of that, because you want to make sure that everything's okay so something weird and unexpected doesn't happen. But this could also be embracing like a new connection with an animal or a pet that feels very fated, very karmic. It comes up unexpectedly and you just feel like you have to do this. You have to take this on. You have to connect with this animal. And that could be a really beautiful thing as well. And for Scorpio and Scorpio rising, this nodal transit through Pisces and Virgo is happening on your 11th and 5th house axis. This is a time to embrace your passions. There's been something that's been blocking you from doing what you truly desire, brings you joy. There's been a lot of responsibility, a lot of weight that has been preventing you from fully embracing this liberating, creative, spiritual, beautiful energy in your 5th house. And now's the time to double down on actually going all in on that. This is a time where you might be doing more creative projects, more spiritual work. This is a time where you might be taking the creative things that bring you joy and bringing that more into your day-to-day reality. This is a time where you're going to embrace maybe a new passion, a new hobby, a new thing that you didn't actually know that you'd be interested in. And it can feel very exciting, but very scary. This could also be a time where circumstances might change around children or having children. If you're in your reproductive years and you decided you didn't want to have children, you might change your mind. Or if you decided you wanted to have children, you might change your mind. And it's going to feel like it's of your own volition, but you know that it's what you're meant to do. And so this change is something that needs to happen or to occur. There could also be very fated changes involving your children that shift everything and guide you in a new direction. There could be new opportunities that come up for your children that force you to change your entire path, right? This could cause you to evolve and move in a new and exciting way, but in a scary way, because you want this so badly for your children. This could be a time where if you are in your reproductive years, a child could come up unexpectedly. And, you know, with the North and South nodes, sometimes it comes up in a way that maybe isn't unexpected, but it's unconventional. And so I've seen with, you know, this type of energy in the 5th house, people looking at IVF, people looking at things like adoption, fostering children, things like that, where it's a non-conventional way of, you know, having children and having a relationship with children. And so that could be something that comes up for you. Or if you're not planning to have children and, you know, you're not careful, fate's going to step in and put that in your path, right? So that's something to be aware of as well. This is also a time where new friendships could come up that feel very familiar to you, that feel very fated, that feel very comfortable. And those people are meant to come into your life right now. And those people might help to further align you with your passions and the things that you love to do. There's also an energy here, though, of surrender and letting go. If you are in relationships and connections with people who are very self-critical, or very critical of you, I should say, people who subject you to a lot of criticism, a lot of scrutiny, who are just always on your case, in terms of people in your social circle, your friends, your networks, the people that you surround yourself with by choice, you might choose to just cut those people out of your life. This is going to be a period of moving on from karmic connections with groups and friends and people that you once had a really strong tie to that are no longer serving you. And so this is a time of surrender of certain relationships and certain connections that are simply past their expiration date. They don't align with your values anymore. They don't bring you joy and satisfaction. It's kind of like a one-sided thing, or a thing where they're bringing you down with their negativity, their criticism, things like that. And so This can be a really good time for moving on from those types of connections, but also embracing new, really practical connections with people that feel like family. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, this energy of the North and South Node in Pisces and Virgo is happening in your 4th house and in your 10th house. The 4th house is the house of home, family, property, and real estate. And so this could be a time where you're moving in a new direction, very literally by moving. I've seen it time and time again when the North and South Node cross this 4th and 10th house axis. People make really big, very dramatic, very karmic moves that are very aligned with your soul's evolution and moving into your destiny. However, I will say with Saturn transiting the 4th house that the move that you make, the home that you find, the property that you invest in, it's going to be more work than you really think it's going to be. There is something karmic about this, though. It's something that you have to experience. It's a challenge that you need to take on in order to grow in the right way, in order to really solidify your roots in a way that you've never experienced in this lifetime or in any lifetime previous. This is also a time for forming new family connections or something changing in your connection with your family. You could improve your relationship with your family in a really big, positive way. This is also a time where if there is old family karma that has been kind of weighing you down and preventing you from moving into the life that you truly and deeply desire, and especially the family and the home life that you truly and deeply desire, now's a time where you're going to be really actively working on clearing that up and letting things go, enforcing boundaries with family that need to be enforced, and also loosening boundaries where they need to be loosened. The other aspect of this, of course, is the South Node transiting your 10th house of career and public reputation. This is a time where even if you're not working, the work that you're doing out in the world, or the mark that you're making on the world, I should say, is going to change in a very deep and dramatic way. You're shedding your old skin when it comes to your career path, what you're doing out in the world. You're moving into a different direction that's more aligned with your past and with your innate talents and gifts that came to you not from your direct knowledge and experience in this lifetime, but from your previous lifetimes, your previous incarnations, or from your lineage in some way, where it is just a part of you. This is a time to bring those talents and gifts to the forefront and incorporate them into your career path or into the legacy that you're leaving behind after your working years. And there could be very dramatic changes in your work and your career. There could most certainly be the need to let go of something with your career in order to have the home life that you really truly desire. So it's kind of like you thought it was going to be one way, or it has been one way for so long, and now you're changing it, but it's because of what's going on behind the scenes and what you want to come home to after work, after you're done, out there in the world. There could also be an energy of like moving to a new location opens up something for you that's very faded and feels very familiar and comfortable and good when it comes to your career and a new maybe job opportunity. This could also be letting go of an old reputation. So it's kind of like people broader scale used to view you in one way and now they're viewing you in another way. It could also be letting go of someone that you look up to, or letting go of just looking up to someone who is in a position of power and authority over you, and you realize they're not all they're cracked up to be, and this relationship is past its expiration date. And it could very literally be you quitting a job and moving on to a new career path. Or potentially getting fired or laid off or losing a job. That could be part of it too. But if that is the case, it's part of your destiny. It's part of this fated transition that's going to lead you to align yourself with something that is so much better and so important to the experience that your soul came here to have. For Capricorn and Capricorn rising, this energy of the North and South Node in Pisces and in Virgo is happening in your 3rd and in your 9th house. For Capricorn and Capricorn rising, the North and South nodes transiting through Virgo and Pisces are happening in your 3rd house and your 9th house, with the North Node in Pisces in your 3rd. This is a really important time to embrace new ideas, new thought processes. This is a really great time for you to learn something new. You're going to feel obsessive over the quest for knowledge. This is about practical skill sets that transcend what's practical. So it's kind of like taking things that are spiritual, creative, metaphysical, otherworldly, and turning it into something really grounded and really practical, and learning a specific skill set around these types of themes. This could also be a new beginning or some sort of energy around travel or vehicles. Maybe there's a fated circumstance that comes up around cars or around travel or travel plans. Any travel plans that you have over the next 18 months, Capricorn, are absolutely part of your destiny. They're going to change your reality in the way that you view your day-to-day life, but also the way that you view the bigger picture. They're shifting your perspective on something. More importantly, they're causing you to let go of an old worldview, of an old perspective, of an old way of philosophizing your experience that is no longer serving you, that is too rigid, that's too rational, that's too logical. You need to have an idea or an understanding maybe that's more whimsical, that's more idealistic, that's more interconnected about how this reality works. There's going to be potentially moving on from an old religion or an old ideology or an old set of beliefs and moving into something that's a little less practical, but a little bit more fantastical, a little bit more fun, a little bit more open. This is also a really important time where new developments can come involving your siblings and extended family members. And so there could be a fated karmic circumstance that changes your trajectory, that involves your connection with a sibling, a brother or sister. This is also a really important time where fated circumstances could come up that change direction for you, involving your neighbors, your community, or in your neighborhood, or a community organization of some kind, where it feels very fated, it feels very karmic. Maybe you decide that you want to take on additional responsibility in your community. That would be very North Node conjunct Saturn in the third house. And it feels like you bit off more than you can chew, but it also feels like you have to have this experience. You have to face these challenges. This is something that is going to not just build character, but it's something that is part of your evolution. Like, you know, you have to do this, even though it's extra work, even though it feels like a burden. And that can be really important as well. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, the North and South nodes are transiting your 2nd and your 8th houses, which are the financial houses in your birth chart. That means big changes, big upheavals, changes in course when it comes to not just your money, your savings, your investments, but also the way that you earn and spend and budget your resources as well. Normally with the North node transiting the 2nd house, you can have like big financial windfalls. You become obsessed with this new way of creating resources, and money can come in from an outside source very unexpectedly, where it's kind of just flowing in from insurance payouts, inheritance, through your partner and their resources, through past investments, things like that. However, with the North Node conjunct Saturn, there is something that you have to overcome and have to face. There's like some sort of fear or procrastination or hesitation around creating a new path for yourself financially that's unconventional, that's different from what you've done in the past. And you're going to have to work on that and work through it. It's almost like there's a restructuring that needs to occur, a dissolving of old boundaries and a creating of new ones when it comes to your finances, in order for you to unlock the positive potential of growth when it comes to this North Node in Pisces, which can really create a lot of financial growth and a lot of momentum through your own hard work, through your own efforts. You might be finding new ways of creating resources, new ways of saving your resources, new ways of spending your resources. You might have a big purchase coming up, and especially for Aquarius, this could be one for a lot of Aquarius people with that Saturn energy in the 2nd house conjunct the North Node. It's like there's a big purchase that's a burdensome purchase. It's very expensive, but it's very worthwhile. It's like you have to make this move. You have to make this purchase. You know it's going to pay off in the future. You know, you're making yourself a little tight budget-wise to do it, but it's like you're so compelled, and this is such an important thing for you that you jump in and you do it. And that's going to be a part of this energy for not every Aquarius, but a lot of Aquarius people as well. For Pisces and for Pisces rising, the North and South nodes are transiting your sign, right? And your opposing sign of Virgo. This is a time where normally the selfless, compassionate Pisces energy becomes more selfish, and it has to. You've been working over the past couple of years with Saturn transiting the sign of Pisces on creating better boundaries. Pisces people do not have the best boundaries typically, especially when it comes to energetic boundaries. You are very sensitive. You tend to take on all of the energy in your environment, all of the emotions of the people around you. You tend to carry that burden without even knowing it. You tend to absorb the, not just energy, but intentions of other people. You get caught up in what they're doing, their momentum, their excitement, or their sadness. And so Saturn's been helping you kind of like put a hard wall and a hard stop to that when and where you need it. The North Node is going to be taking that, doubling down on it, and allowing you to become more selfish. This is not about what other people need. This is about shifting your focus on finally doing what's best for you. This is about self-care. This is about your self-discipline. This is about your goals. This is about your boundaries. This is about you, what you want for your future, and moving into this in a way that it's not selfish to be selfish in this situation. It's necessary. You cannot fill anyone else's cup when your cup is empty and broken and it's spilling all over the place, right? So you need to fix your cup. Make sure it's not leaky, because that is very Saturn and Pisces, right? But you need to also make sure that you are following your volition, your sense of compulsion, the things that you're feeling obsessed with and drawn toward right now. It's about rediscovering who you are and becoming more of that, because you are going through a major transformation of self. You are going through a major transformation of personality. You are going through a major transformation of who you actually are in the world. It's kind of like all of a sudden you're stopping and you're like, who the heck even am I? Who have I become? I'm so different than I thought I was. And is this really who I want to be? Is this what I want to be doing? Like, who am I now? That's the question to ask yourself. There could also be very fated karmic circumstances that come up that can be very positive around connections with other people, but it's more like those other people are there to support you. And so you might have some ideas about who you are, what you want to be, what you want to do that are not necessarily the most practical. And there could be this counterbalance of other people in your life from the past that are coming back up and that are helping you realize how to do this in a more realistic way. There could also be fated circumstances that come up involving your partner or past partnerships that could change the trajectory, change the direction that you're heading into. Or if you are not partnered, this is a time where you might come into this fated karmic connection with somebody else. It could be a romantic partnership even, where it feels familiar, it feels comfortable, it feels like you already know this person, it feels like a hug. And that's because you do already know this person, not in this lifetime, but maybe, you know, in some sort of otherworldly way or from a past lifetime. There is a deep connection there and a deep familiarity, and that is so important. Any connection that comes in that feels like this over the next 18 months is there for a reason. This is somebody that you need to connect with because it's going to further your soul's growth and evolution. It's going to help you. This person, these people are going to help you become more of who you truly are. You are aligning with who you are and what you desire and what your soul came here to do. And so this is a very important time for Pisces, where everything in your life is subject to change, not just you and your relationships, but your physical appearance, your health, your career path, your home life, your family situation and circumstances, all of it. So yeah, this is going to be a big 18 months for Pisces. It's not going to look anything like it does right now when you come out of the other side, but you're going to be more aligned with your destiny and what you came here to experience. And so even though there will be some ups and downs, that in and of itself will be a beautiful thing. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, like it, subscribe to my channel, and please make sure you share this with anyone and everyone who might benefit from the information that I just shared with you today. This is 18 months worth of guidance that your friends need. And so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.